Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we are tackling a huge one, a really complex topic that affects every single one of us, the U.S. healthcare system. And we're going to zero in on the one question that really gets to the heart of it all.
So, let's just dive right into the core question, right? The big paradox at the heart of American healthcare. We spend an absolutely staggering amount of money, way more than any other country. But just how much are we talking about?
Yeah, you heard that right. Just under 20%. Think about that for a second. Picture the entire U.S. economy. Now, imagine taking almost a fifth of all of it. That's what we dedicate to medical care. It's a truly massive number.
So here's the kicker. With that kind of spending, you'd think we'd have the best outcomes on the planet, right? But we don't. We're constantly battling challenges with the quality of care, the insane costs, and even just basic access. So what is going on? Well, to figure that out, we first have to understand what our system actually is.
Okay, so the first clue to solving this whole puzzle is realizing something pretty fundamental. The U.S. doesn't really have a healthcare system. It's much better to think of it as a health enterprise.
Yeah, so just throw that idea of a single, neat, organized system right out the window. What we have is more like a giant, sprawling marketplace. It's this collection of thousands of independent businesses, hospitals, drug companies, insurers, and they're all shaped by their own economic goals, not by some grand plan to keep us all healthy. And this really gets to the heart of the problem. Our whole enterprise is tilted, It's heavily focused on one thing, restoring health. We've built this incredible, high-tech, and very expensive machine to treat you after you get sick. But the whole other side of the coin, maintaining health, preventing sickness in the first place, that part is often an afterthought, and it's almost always underfunded.
All right, so if this is a giant enterprise, who are the big players calling the shots? Well, to really get what's going on, you have to meet the 5 key groups, and they don't always play nice.
So you've got consumers, that's us, the providers, the employers who pay for a lot of the insurance companies themselves, and the government policymakers. Each one of these groups is pulling in their own direction, often with completely different goals. And that tension, well, that's where things get complicated.
First up, let's talk about us, the consumers, the patients. What do we want? It sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? We want great care, we want it to be easy to get, and we want it to be affordable. But that word, affordable, well, that's where the tug-of-war really begins.
Then you've got the providers, the doctors, the nurses, the hospitals. These are people who spent a huge chunk of their lives training, and from where they stand, they're drowning in paperwork and fighting with insurance companies just to get paid a fair wage for the work they do.
All right, now for our really big one, employers. Since most Americans get their health insurance through work, businesses are a huge player in this game, and they're stuck right in the middle. Every year, costs go up, squeezing their profits, but if they cut back on benefits, they might lose their best people. It's a constant, stressful balancing act. And of course, we have the insurers. They're kind of like the referees, or maybe the bankers, in this whole setup. Their job is to manage all the money flowing around from us and our employers to the doctors and hospitals. And their main goal is to protect their role in the middle and, frankly, to manage their own costs.
And last but not least, we've got the public policymakers. Now, you'd think this is where the solutions would come from, right? But here's the thing. While pretty much everyone agrees that costs need to slow down, there's a huge philosophical split on how to do it. Is healthcare a right that the government should guarantee, or is it a product to be bought and sold in a free market? That one debate pretty much shapes everything.
So what happens when you have this messy, fragmented, non-system with 5 different groups all fighting for their own interests? Well, you get a to-do list from hell, a huge, stubborn list of challenges that ends up affecting every single one of us.
Just look at some of these challenges. And the crucial thing to understand is that they're all connected. They create this kind of vicious cycle. For example, if your care isn't well coordinated between different doctors, the quality suffers. That poor quality can lead to mistakes or repeat procedures, which then drives costs up for everybody. See how it works?
And it goes even deeper than that. These problems extend way beyond the hospital or the doctor's office. We're talking about basic public health, trying to encourage healthy habits, and confronting really tough inequalities where your health can literally depend on your zip code. And sitting underneath all of this is a serious lack of trust, something the pandemic really brought to the surface.
Okay, so we've talked about this massive, complicated enterprise, all these different players. But let's bring it all back home, to the most important stakeholder in this entire thing.
And that's you and me. It's all of us.
See, we're not just consumers in this system. We are so much more than that. We're taxpayers who help fund it. We're employees whose wages are affected by rising insurance premiums. We are voters. We all have a real personal stake in making this whole enterprise work better.
Look, getting a handle on how this all works isn't just some boring homework assignment. It's really the first step. Because, let's be honest, a system this complex isn't going to fix itself. It needs people who understand the problems and are committed to demanding change. So it leaves us with a really big question. Now that you know a little more about how it works, what are you going to do? Thanks for joining this explainer.